Welcome to Life in Real Time with Lucia, the podcast where we capture the essence of raw, unfiltered conversations and where we will dive deep into the journey of life. No topic is off limits here, and things can get real, really real. This is your space for open, honest, and sometimes messy discussions about everything that life throws our way. The good, the bad, and the downright chaotic. Some episodes will be unscripted, where anything can happen, and others will be carefully crafted to explore thought-provoking themes. A fair warning, though, that this is rated adult, and yes, that means that the language might get a little colorful at times, but hey, that's life in real time, right? So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and join me on this unpredictable adventure through life's ups and downs, and everything in between. Let's keep it raw, keep it real, and above all, let's keep it honest. I'm Lucia, and this is Life in Real Time. Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for joining me again today. Before we begin, I want to share a quick disclaimer. This podcast is based on personal reflections, life experiences, and spiritual perspectives. The ideas shared here are meant to inspire thoughtful conversation and personal reflection, but they are not intended to replace professional advice in areas such as mental health, medical care, or counseling. My hope with this space is simply to explore meaningful topics, share experiences, and remind people that growth and transformation are something we all navigate in different ways. Have you ever looked at your life and realized something quietly unsettling? You're not the same person you used to be, but you're not quite sure who you are becoming either. The old version of you doesn't fully exist anymore, but the new version of you hasn't fully taken shape. And somewhere in between those two identities, there's this strange emotional space. A space where things feel uncertain, a space where you question yourself, a space where sometimes you feel like you're floating between two versions of your life. That space can feel confusing, sometimes even lonely. But what if that space isn't a problem? What if it's actually the place where transformation happens? Today I want to talk about that space, the emotional void between who you were and who you are becoming. In my last episode, I spoke about anxiety and depression and how deeply those experiences can affect our lives. But something that often follows difficult seasons is something people rarely talk about: transformation. Because when life challenges you emotionally, mentally, or spiritually, you rarely come out the same person you were before. Those experiences reshape you. They change how you see the world. They change how you see yourself. And sometimes they quietly begin a transformation you didn't expect. The interesting thing about transformation is that it rarely announces itself. It doesn't always come with a big moment where everything suddenly becomes clear. Most of the time, transformation happens quietly, slowly, almost invisibly. You start noticing small changes. The things that once felt important begin to feel less meaningful. The pace of life you once kept starts to feel exhausting. You begin craving different things: more peace, more authenticity, more alignment with who you really are. And these shifts can feel both beautiful and unsettling at the same time. Because whenever our internal world changes, our external world begins to shift too. One of the most difficult parts of transformation is letting go of the identity we once carried. For years, we built identities around roles. Maybe you were the strong one, the reliable one, the person who always held everything together, the one people depended on. And those identities become familiar. They give us a sense of stability. But growth sometimes requires us to loosen our grip on those roles. Not because they were wrong, but because they may no longer fully represent who we are becoming. And letting go of a version of yourself can feel uncomfortable, even when that change is leading you somewhere better. There is often a moment during transformation where you find yourself in an unfamiliar space. You no longer feel connected to the old version of yourself. But the new version hasn't fully arrived yet, and that space can feel like an emotional void. You might feel more reflective, more aware of your surroundings, more sensitive to what drains you and what nourishes you. Things you once tolerated may no longer feel right. You may begin setting boundaries where you never set them before. And sometimes you wonder, where exactly am I going? But transformation doesn't always provide clear answers right away. Sometimes it simply asks us to trust the process. As human beings, we naturally crave certainty. We like knowing who we are. We like knowing where we're going. But transformation often removes that certainty for a while. It places us in the in-between, where clarity hasn't fully arrived yet. And that can make us question ourselves. Am I lost? Am I going backwards? Am I doing something wrong? But often the opposite is true. This in-between space is where the deepest growth happens, because it forces us to examine who we truly are beyond the roles we once played. For many people, transformation is not only emotional but also spiritual. There are seasons in life where everything familiar begins to shift, where certainty fades, where we are invited to look deeper. Many spiritual traditions describe something called a wilderness season, a time where things feel uncertain, where answers are not immediate, but where growth happens beneath the surface. And sometimes the emotional void we experience during transformation is exactly that kind of space. A space where something deeper inside us is being reshaped. Quietly, slowly, but meaningfully. One of the hardest lessons during transformation is learning to trust the process. We often want clarity right away. We want to know exactly who we are becoming. But growth rarely works on a strict timeline. Sometimes the most profound changes happen slowly. So slowly that we barely notice them day to day. Until one day we look back and realize we think differently, we see the world differently, we treat ourselves differently, and the person we are becoming feels more authentic than the person we used to be. If you find yourself in that space right now, the space between who you were and who you are becoming, I want you to remember something. That space is not emptiness, it's transformation. It's the quiet work of growth happening beneath the surface. And sometimes the most powerful changes in our lives happen during seasons where nothing feels fully clear yet. So if life feels uncertain right now, be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace and trust that the process or the person you are becoming is still unfolding, because transformation is rarely instant. But when we do allow it to happen, it often leads us to a deeper, more authentic version of ourselves than we ever imagined. Thank you so much for listening.